Alright, let's talk about wheels. I've been sim racing for maybe a month, maybe a little bit longer now, and gone through more than my fair share of wheels. Started out with a TMX setup, which is they call it a hybrid wheel, hybrid gear belt system. It's really a best with gear cogs, which is kind of weird. It is good force feedback though. It's probably better than the G29, although I haven't really compared them side by side, but I've used both. The reason why I got rid of that wheel primarily is because it feels plasticky. It's kind of bendy, doesn't really feel nice like the G29, doesn't have a leather on it. And you can't swap out the wheel. So if you're going to go with a basic setup like that, you'll probably be happier with the G29. And possibly if I'd gone that way, I wouldn't have spent all the money I have so far on wheels. Not that I regret it, but for legal reasons and to avoid the divorce, I'm not going to go into how much I've spent on that. I will, however, tell you about the wheel that I got after that, which was a TX, Thrustmaster TX base. And for that, I got a slightly tangled wheel here, which is the Ferrari 599 Alcantara. I didn't pronounce that correctly, but that doesn't really matter. This is fantastic wheel. I love this wheel. It's just feels so nice. The Alcantara here it's just feels so nice. It's a small wheel, although it's big compared to like a G29, but it's small compared to like a real racing wheel, I guess. Not that small, much smaller, maybe an inch smaller. It's got lots of controls. Don't really use all of them. Use like 4 buttons on it. Kind of nice shifters here also. Thing that I'm not a big fan of is this screw-in quick release system from Thrustmaster. It kind of works, but really you need to fasten the wheel in with a screw that goes in the base also, or 3D print an adapter that makes it just a little bit easier to tighten it, which is what I did. Found myself tightening the wheel quite often during races, but you don't really notice it because it's very easy to do. I still find myself trying to tighten the Fanatec wheel, but of course I don't need to here. Comparing it to the Fanatec, this is the CSL Elite wheel. In my personal opinion, this is a better wheel. It feels better. It's more rounded than Fanatec, so at least for my big clumsy hands, it just feels better in the hand. Shifters also give you that more audible feedback, but I mean, I wouldn't say that the shifter is anything that would make my decision. It's just this feel. It's bigger, it's much softer Alcantara material, feels better. This wheel, of course, does have the gear indicator here, which is kind of nice, but I'd still rather have this wheel. Now, speaking of, I do plan on replacing this wheel for probably the BMW wheel that they have. It's pretty nice. Big reason being that this is too narrow, and also it doesn't really have a quick release system, which I really want. And one of the reasons why I like this base. Now the other Thrustmaster wheel that I got for the TX base is this. It's the Ferrari wheel. It is a fantastic wheel for the price. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's got rubber grips here, so probably, I mean, I thought it was fine. It get really good grip on it. Doesn't feel as nice as the Alcantara material. For those that drive in gloves, it's probably better because it is a better grippier surface. Of course, most of the buttons here are fake, but you do have plenty of buttons. You do have also these directional pads here. My only complaint about this wheel, it's not a huge complaint, but it is a complaint, and that is these knobs for adjusting. They've marked it here for differential and whatever that is. The thing is, you can't really use them for adjusting anything that's like that you would want to adjust one tactile feel at a time, because I found that if I just move it one, it doesn't register. It's gonna have to move it at least two to register, and then I've kind of lost the adjustability of just changing something by one notch, right? What I've used this for is in iRacing to windshield wipers or replace the screen on my goggles, which is quite convenient because I can just hit it like that. Anyway, really good wheel for the price. May not seem cheap, but compared to other options for an open F1 wheel, this is just really good. I did get, when I got the Fanatec base, I did get this Fanatec F1 Club Sport wheel. It does feel better in the hand. It's got this same coarse Alcantara material. I doubt that it's really Alcantara. At least it's not. Doesn't feel anything as smooth as the Thrustmaster. It's still pretty nice. Feels good in the hand if you drive without gloves, which I usually do. But for those that driving gloves, the rubber is probably better. I haven't really sat these yet. I've had this wheel for a very short time, but the amount of knobs here are just endless, and it's got an LCD screen which tells you the gear you're in, the speed. Kind of need to turn off the speed though, because I don't like that. I just want to see the gear. Got a rev meter here, which is great, and then it's got lights here on the sides, which are kind of cool. The only thing I've seen them go off on is in what's the name called? I forget the name of the game. Never mind. But they go off on traction control and ABS. It's kind of cool, but useless for someone that's been driving for a month like me. Really nice wheel. But this wheel is $370. I think this is like $200. Is this worth the extra money? Maybe. I like it. I still like this wheel a lot, and would be very happy with sticking with this wheel, which kind of brings me to the whole reason why I'm no longer running the Thrustmaster TX base, which has plenty of power. I don't really know if the Fanatec 2.5 has more power. I suppose it does, but the TX base came preset at 75% force feedback, and that was more than enough for me. This is probably comes preset higher because it does have more feedback, but it also, the fan goes off on this pretty much immediately, and it almost never went off on my TX base. Now, the thing that annoyed me with the base, and ultimately the reason why I did switch out, is that the power connector was kind of loose in it, and this is a motion rig, so on occasion I would be driving on a race in iRacing or something, and the motion would be a little bit violent, and the power cable would come loose from the wheelbase, which made for a spectacular crash and detrimental to my safety rating. So that's kind of the primary reason why I got rid of that. But I also wasn't very happy with the support. It was an older TX base. The drivers that are for the TX bases on the Thrustmaster website, although worked perfectly, the firmware not so much. And I updated my firmware to the latest in there. Wheelbase just stopped working. Had to dig through a third-party websites to find the old firmware to install it back in. Thrustmaster could improve their support side drastically there. Also wasn't a fan of the that quick release system. It's not a quick release system, it's a I don't know what to call it. It's a screw-in system. You really need to tighten it down with a screw or 3D print, but it's not really the same. Of course, that's kind of what the Fanatec CSW system also is. I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a screw here that holds it in, which is also why I want to get another wheel. Not just because this doesn't feel as good as the 599 wheel, but also because I want it to be quick release. I want to change games quickly, and the wheels with them. For pedals, the pedals that I got with my TMX, just junk. There's like, you get no sense of the brake or the throttle. I guess it doesn't really matter for the throttle, but for the brake it kind of does. After that I got the T3PA Pro Thrustmasters. Those are good. The clutch and the throttle, I mean, they don't give you any sense, just how far you move the pedal, which is fine. The important part there is the brake, and they've improved the brake there. You can put in like dampeners that give you more of a harder feel for the brake, so that the more the pressure, the more it brakes, which is kind of what you want. But I would say though that if, especially if you're coming from driving real cars and you want to get some kind of sense of the pedals, like a clutch that kind of feels like a clutch, although granted, I don't know if it really works like a clutch in how it releases power, etc. But kind of feels like one in the Club Sport V3s. So I'd recommend those. Also the brake, very adjustable. The throttle, also adjustable, so you can make it feel kind of like a throttle. Yeah, I guess that's it for the pedals. Shifters, got a Fanatec here, pretty much just using it in sequential mode. I also have a Thrustmaster, which you probably can't see down there. Yeah, both 8 shifters. I've pretty much exclusively used the Fanatec in sequential mode and the Thrustmaster for 8 shifting. Neither one of them really feels like a shifter. The Fanatec does a better job of that. You can adjust how heavy it is, and it's more of a mechanical click, but not really. But both do the job. I mean, they're both fine for shifting for sure. Cheap Chinese handbrake, as you can hear, it's pretty crappy, but it does the job. I don't know if I'm going to be replacing it, but if I do, I'd probably want to try out the IO logs, because Husenqueld is a bit expensive for me. I want to avoid that divorce scenario. So yeah, that's pretty much it for wheels. Hope this was helpful. I, for one, always check out reviews before I buy stuff. It helps me figure out what I want, although sometimes I still end up with the wrong stuff. And I hope this might help you. Thanks. Bye-bye.